So yeah, your prep's going to take longer this year.
Yeah.
I know,
No.
yeah, she's
I'll
so,
put her on a good pace for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
She must be trying to get in the
And I know
YouTube
they gave me some really
Yep.
good advice, all the teachers were, just try to make it to Harvest Break. Just go easy.
feeling good. I've been here all summer.
one day at a time.
Yep.
right, we had one that we did, right.
We meet in July. We're all set? Okay. Time is 6:02. Call the meeting to order. So, mic's on. Planning board meeting for September 7th, 2003. Called meeting to order. We have the whole body here, so we have quorum and disclosure of conflicts of interest. Is that on there for something specific? Oh, okay. We don't have any public hearings, so we'll move right into approval of minutes. Everybody take some time to review the August 3rd minutes in your packets. Which are, where are they?
They start right after.
Skip right by them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I sent the packets to the printer before I put the page numbers on. Yeah.
We're going to have to find you a quarter.
You know what? I'll be happy. I was wrong.
Looking for a motion, Madam Chair?
I would love to entertain one.
Motion to approve as printed.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Moved by Dave, seconded by Frank. Take a roll call, or any discussion? Roll call. Steve?
I did not attend the meeting. Should I abstain?
I'll have to.
If I don't have to, I'll say yes.
I don't think you have to abstain.
I read through the minutes
Yeah,
and
you
they all
don't have to
sounded good.
abstain.
Yeah, okay, I'll say yes.
Okay, Frank?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
JR, I was like, which one do you prefer? JR?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Motion is passed. Minutes are approved as written. We'll move right into City Council liaison updates. Mr. Bagley, how are you?
Good evening, I'm well. How's the planning board tonight? Just wanted to give you a quick update tonight on, and a heads up really, on our land bank initiatives, what we're trying to do there. And as you know, we've discussed it over the last several years, I think, and I've kind of put something in place. We've tried a couple different things with the Business Investment Group. So I've been speaking with the Business Investment Group as well as CEGC, the Caribou Economic Growth Council, to come up with a plan to maybe put some formality around the process, so that we have a process that we can go through to assess properties as they become available, decide whether we want to put them out into a land bank, put them out to bid, or keep them for the city, and then do a development plan and have that kind of an approval process for that and kind of track it all the way through, and then have a means to propose and review redevelopment plans for that property and the reinvestment strategy after we've got that done. I know you all understand what the concept of the land bank, so we'll get into that. So we don't know quite yet who's really going to take this on. I'm going to take a stab at drawing up, kind of a process and propose that to the council and talk to you guys about it as well, so that we can maybe get a little bit further down the road on this land bank. Now, there are other factors coming into this, and there have been laws passed recently which are going to change, right? Penny could probably speak better to this than I, but it's going to kind of change how we do tax acquired properties, bids, and how much we can keep of that money. I don't know how that's all going to work out. But the land bank could be a very valuable instrument to be able to deal with those new laws, because we could take that property and potentially convey it to a nonprofit, for example, and that would meet the standard that the state has set, and then that nonprofit would do what it wants to with it, under the guidance of the city. So anyway, there's some ideas floating around. Had a really good meeting with CEGC last week. I proposed to them that they consider getting involved in that. It's a group of 7, right, Penny? 7 people? 7, 9 with the ex officios. And they're in insurance, finance, business. I mean, they're all the right group of people to know real estate. So that would be a really good, I think, advisory group or some other capacity for the CEGC to play in this land bank. So just wanted to share that. It's a heads up. This will take a while, I'm sure, but in the next few weeks you'll be hearing more about that. And that's all I had. Are there any questions or concerns for me?
What's the state legislation coming out? Is that from other cities that have done this previously, that they're...
Well, there's two. The legislation that I was talking about, the concept is, it's not fair for the city to tax acquire a property and then make a profit off it and keep that money.
What
So-
about back taxes?
All they can keep is back taxes.
That's all they can keep, okay.
And so if you tax acquire a property, it's worth $50,000, and they owe $5,000 on it, you can't turn around and sell it for $50,000 and keep it. You have to turn over that 45, the difference, the 45,000, to the previous owners. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah,
So-
it stemmed from a lawsuit on a riverfront, or it was waterfront property down in,
Minnesota or somewhere.
no, it was a Maine case. It was a Maine case. The one that, there might have been a precedent in another state though, that, but I believe it was down in, right around,
I think it was Searsport, wasn't it?
yeah, somewhere down there. There was an elderly gentleman that had a property, he became ill, his heirs weren't really part of the picture, so they took the property and then ended up selling it for like $100,000 more than he owed, and they kept that money. And that's kind of, because I was watching this case pretty closely, and that's where the state legislative rule came from.
It's well intentioned, but again, they haven't given thought to unintended consequences.
Yeah.
And the unintended consequences to this would be that now the city would be burdened to market and sell a property and not be able to get anything out of it.
Right.
Right.
What about legal fees?
And that's not fair.
Well, legal fees that the city pays for to all
Yeah.
of the letters, all of that time. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into
A lot
that,
of time and effort,
and we can't recoup that.
over months. I don't know.
That's what I'm wondering.
We're working on that now, because there's also cases where we have to tear something down.
Right, and that
Right.
costs money,
Yeah.
That's funny.
right? You have to be able to recoup that.
So
Otherwise,
there's a lot of discussion. going on
right, yeah.
now.
But
Okay.
it's a question of fairness in my mind anyway. Somebody doesn't pay their taxes for a long time because the only way that the city's going to acquire it is if you haven't paid for a long time. And then they're somehow rewarded by having somebody else market and sell it for them
Right,
and get
You
that
rewarding
cash
bad
in the
behavior,
pocket,
or-
so.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But again, getting back to the land bank could be an instrument to work within that new law
Yeah.
to achieve more fairness, I guess.
Good.
Anyway, yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right.
That's it.
Thanks for the time.
All right, cruising right along. 5, new business. Site design review. Kip Griffin, 960 Access Highway. Penny, you want to give an intro?
Sure, so Kip Griffin, who's the property owner, he is here, so if you have questions for him. So I have on the memo here in the packet, which is on page 4. Mr. Griffin operates an automotive business at 960 Access Highway and at 64 High Meadow Road in Perrin. In 2017, Mr. Griffin applied for a recycler license in Caribou and the request was denied. Therefore, he worked with the town of Perrin to operate an automobile recycler business to serve his used car lot in Caribou. State law requires that Mr. Griffin spend a minimum of 5 6-hour days at both his primary, which is in Perrin, and his secondary, which is in Caribou, location to follow state law. He operates this as a single operator, so it is impossible to repair, sell, and operate the business and be in full compliance. Mr. Griffin is working with the state to make Caribou his primary location for the recycling business, and then the Perrin location would not need to be licensed as a secondary location, and therefore there would be no minimum requirement for hours in Perrin. Mr. Griffin would be able to work his hours in Caribou. Mr. Griffin will still store vehicles in Perrin and bring cars to Caribou for repair or disassembly. Disassembled vehicles are then taken back to Perrin. The goal of this action is to allow Mr. Griffin to operate his business and comply with state law. The city can approve with conditions. One condition could be that vehicles must be drained prior to transporting them to the Caribou location. So this would be kind of an initial review of the application. You can let me know what information from the concept plan review requirements and final review requirements would be needed to move this forward to a public hearing. So starting on page 5, there are 17 pages that Mr. Griffin brought to the office, which includes the site design review application. There is the paperwork from the state on page 13. There is kind of a description of the building itself. It has these kind of 5 A's here. The one in the middle is the storage room in the office, and this is his car lot. And then there's paperwork that he filled out, which is state paperwork. You can get an idea of that. So then the next set of pages, on the concept plan review requirements, it asks for the name and addresses of property owners within 500 feet. So I have 2 pages of that. The deed, that's also 2 pages. I also enclosed for you a section of the GIS map so you can kind of tell, you know, the proximity to this property to other properties here. There's the tax map and also the shoreline zoning map in this file. And I circled in red so you can see where the lot is. The next group of papers is Chapter 103 with the rules for vehicle dealers, auctions, transporters, recyclers. That's 33 pages. Title 17 talks about miscellaneous nuisances. From 30A, these are the sections to deal with motor vehicles. And then our city ordinance, Chapter 7, Article 7, which deals with automobile junkyards. Our ordinance does not address recyclers, which are brought up in 2017 when I had to handle this stuff. It's still not been addressed. It's the ordinance has never been updated to reflect that in state law, there's junkyards, there's recyclers, there's different, these mobile crushers, all of that. Our ordinance has never been updated, but then I didn't have to do planning board anymore, and still wasn't done, and I didn't have to worry about it, so. But hello, I'm back, and worrying about it again.
So happy, you're so happy, Penny.
So, yes.
Penny, I thought there was something in the ordinance about 5 motor vehicles that were not unregistered motor vehicles on your property.
Well, this would be a business, anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what Ken has always used, is that, right, so it's somewhere in the ordinance.
I don't know, I'd have to look for that.
Dan, do you remember, does anybody remember that?
I do.
Okay,
The property maintenance code
yeah, okay,
calls for
yeah,
each parcel is allowed to have one unregistered,
yeah,
uninspected
yeah, that's what it is.
vehicle.
Yeah,
It used to be 2,
yeah.
but they changed it back to 1.
Okay, so it's not 5 then, 'cause I was thinking, I can't remember
It's-
anything about 5.
There's a limit there, though, because I know there was one kind of heading out of town that,
But that's not applicable for a business, correct?
It wouldn't be.
well,
No, as a car dealer, they're allowed to have what their lot allows as a dealership.
as a dealership,
Or let's say in a junkyard, an automobile graveyard, I should say.
are these cars titled?
Hard to tell on some of that
You
stuff.
can, Mr. Griffin is here,
Yeah.
you can go up to the, you want to just go to the mic and you can answer their questions. Yeah.
Yeah, all the vehicles have to be titled, anything 95 and newer, in my
1995.
possession, yeah.
So no antiques have to be titled?
No, that runs under a different type of law. And it's another thing too, I'm not dismantling cars there. I do that at the other location. Anything, if I need parts, the only reason why I need a recycler's license is to rebuild a vehicle, because the state requires me to have a recycler's license in order to make 2 vehicles into 1.
Yeah.
And to have it at that location, they were allowing me until this year, because I was floating underneath the other business to come over here, and then I was selling them. I was fixing them and selling them there, but I kept my mess over the other place, kept it all neat over there, and it was fine with that, but the hours is the hard part, you know. It's hard to do it by yourself, 10 hours a day,
So you can can you walk me through what a normal transition of a car, so you would collect it or repair them?
What I would do, I'd buy a car that was lightly hit in the back, and I just put either new parts or used parts on it. Say like if I get a good deal on a junk car, wrecked cars usually, I'll take it out there.
Yep.
Then after a while, I'll go through the auctions, there's 5 or 6 auctions I look at, and all of a sudden I see one that's hit on the opposite side. I say, oh geez, look, I got all the parts here. I'll buy it, bring it out there, take all the parts off, take them out there, then I'd go over there, get all the parts and bring them out here and put it all on there. I never had any junk cars up there. I might have had one because we was doing a real big restoration on one, on a diesel pickup. That was last spring. But other than, I wouldn't have no more than 3 cars that I'd be putting together, maybe 4 tops at one time. Sometimes you have to wait for a part, or, vice versa. But I don't do any leaving batteries and junk tires and motors laying all over the place, like I'm sure you guys got enough in your hands with the, with the town being messed up as it is, but I don't have no intention. I've been doing it for 5 years, and I don't think anybody really complained.
What do you do with the leftover frames that are, the one that's hit on the opposite side,
I have a guy come in and crush them.
crushes them? And then where does it go? Gets recycled?
Canada, yeah,
Canada?
recycling, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like having it anymore at my other place, because that's my home residence. But I got 60 acres, so it's way in the back, so I don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to keep the place clean, you know. Out of sight, out of mind.
So can you talk about all the paperwork that you need, like when you have like cards off of a car that you...
Oh, yeah, I get it, yeah. That's all got to be recorded. Like, there's a form that, I can't remember, it's an MV-12, I believe. I have to fill that out. When I sell that car, I have to put on there the VIN number of the car that it came from, to what car it went to, and I have to sign it because I'm the one that put it on there. And that has to go with the title, and it'll be a rebuilt title after that when I sell it. State of Maine requires a recycler's license. But recycler's license is, you know, it's pretty vague. Like Penny said, they're calling recyclers a junkyard or, you know, a graveyard. It is and it ain't, you know, it's whatever you guys want to, you know, allow me to have there. I mean, the sergeant there was working with me, he says there's some towns, they let them have 3 or 4 vehicles there, but that's tops, and they can't have junk laying around, or they gotta have a fence, or, you know, different stuff, you know, to kinda hide it. But I don't do none of that here, I do that all at the other place, so I don't.
It sounds as though you're using this site as a repair shop.
Exactly, that's what I'm doing. I get
Mechanical replacement repair.
Right, because I got an inspection station there too. So that's basically what I do. I don't have cars flipped upside down, oil leaking all over the place, you know, I don't go for that. I never did, you know. So I keep that out there, we got a big payloader, we pick them up, take them apart, drain them all, and then we recycle all the oil and antifreeze and send that all away, and I got people come and get a lot of that.
You do that in Perham?
Yep, yep.
And the idea is that you keep doing that in Perham?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no room up there for that anyways.
Gotcha.
So have you measured the distance from your property lines to your neighbor's wells? 'Cause that seemed to be the issue before, was distance to wells.
I don't know where my neighbor's wells are. I really don't, you know. Like I said, I'm not tearing a car apart there, you know, so that really would be irrelevant, you know, as a repair shop. I mean, they got repair shops right here in Caribou. I mean, a lot tighter area than I'm at. G&J's, you got Jimmy Bacon right next to a pond, you know. My neighbors seem to be pretty good over there. I've never had no problem with them. They haven't complained about me, I guess.
No, I will say, as far as I know.
They would, you would have known.
Yeah, I haven't, yeah.
Yeah. No, I try to keep pretty quiet out there.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Griffin?
Are you about 1,500 feet from Milo Haney service station? Is that?
Yeah, somewhere like that, yeah. Yeah, I'm just the old car wash used to
Yep,
be, I
okay.
guess, yeah.
Is that the one on the corner?
Just on the left.
Yeah. See you.
The first entrance to the base.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of a yellowish cream colored building,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
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 Oh, there's the town line right there. I see it. Yeah, yeah.
Penny, the list of adjacent property owners, have they all been notified of?
No, I
So
was
that we have-
until we had a public hearing.
Okay.
But I was looking at the list of things, and I thought, okay, well, what do I have for some of those things here that I could scare up and put in the package? I could do that much. If you went to a public hearing, we would have that part done anyway, so that I could have someone send out a notice. With that.
I do remember this vaguely, and I think the property to the south where David Genfner lived. There was a mobile home there years back.
Yeah, they tore it down.
And it's a very small parcel of land which would make it a previously existing non-conforming lot of record. If a new owner or someone wanted to come and reutilize that lot, and they can meet their setbacks and have a septic system, whatever's there for a well possibly is still a working well. And I think that could be one of the state requirements, that there be a certain distance from your property to a neighbor's well, that we were supposed to look at and to verify that the compliance to that. And the other part I remember was the state law requiring screening from the road of a recycler's
Oh, yeah,
activity.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
this
I don't-
doesn't seem to apply, you know,
Yeah,
from what you're
No, I'm
proposing.
not doing none of that, so I don't,
So it's not like hiding in the junkyard?
yeah, I'm not doing none of that. See, that's all kept at the other location.
Yeah.
On the
Keep
back
that out of
60. On the back 60, right? That's what you
Right,
said?
there you go. Yeah.
So, Steve, you said that was an existing non-conforming lot,
Previously existing non-conforming lot of record.
and there's no house on it right now?
No.
Gone completely.
So
I
then they
think it's less
can't,
than an acre there.
It's a
what
tiny little triangle.
happens?
Yeah.
They could still use it because the lot was existing prior to May 1980 when we had.
Okay. That's what I was
It's a
wondering. So it's
legality.
still it's a habitable lot, basically. Okay. Okay.
Not necessarily, but
Is,
They would still have to
Right.
conform to like setbacks and things, but
I
you
don't-
couldn't make it, it was less, so it's less than an acre, I think.
Right.
And we require at least an acre in the R3.
yeah.
So you can't build on it, is what you're saying?
But
Well, you could.
You could if you could meet the setbacks.
Yes.
and we probably do not have a record of the septic system,
Right.
as old as the property was,
Right.
being that those things just happened.
So Steve, you think it was a state requirement?
And I'm
It is.
I'm
and it's
fuzzy on these
300
things,
It's
but
in,
Okay.
30A, section 3754-A, number 4, is proximity to the well. It must not be within 300 feet.
Now, what,
300 feet.
what part it has to be 300 feet out?
It's from your line.
Oh, from my line.
Yeah. I think that's going to be tough.
That would be the
But
biggest
here's the
concern.
thing, I believe Steve suggested this, maybe talk to the Gintner, see if they'd sell you that piece of land. But I wouldn't put it in the same name that your other one.
Well, then it'll be, yeah, then I'll be next to the other name. My
Yeah,
lot's
but
getting
what I'm
bigger.
saying is like, put it in your wife's name or something, then it's not your lot.
Don't put it under the shop.
Yeah, don't put it in your.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But does that?
Just for a recycler's license?
it's legal stuff.
That's the state's requirement.
State requirement.
Right. So the state won't give you a permit. Right?
Oh,
Yes,
that-
because it isn't.
The detective said he would.
Yeah. And I'm sure that Detective Markey would come talk, like in a public hearing. about
Yeah.
that,
Because they had other places like that they run into.
that They run into at the well.
Yeah. It's like a gray area.
I mean, if someone puts in a well within 300 feet, you can't penalize somebody. Like, it's
Right.
very clear about that in the law.
Right.
Yeah.
And there might be a question on the uphill side, up to the right, headed towards Milo's.
Yeah.
Because there's another house pretty
Yeah,
close on
yeah,
that side
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
How would we handle that not knowing where the wells are though?
Well, somebody needs to determine where the well is and what
Right.
the distance is to the line. Like, that's
I mean, I
something-
can't just walk
Yeah, you
over
can't.
there
You
and
could
start
get permission,
measuring.
But you could get permission
Ask.
to measure. You know, and their address is here in the packet, the Gintners, and, well, everybody's address is in the packet. We don't necessarily have phone numbers for them, but I have all their addresses here, within 500 feet.
So theoretically, it's not abandoned property.
Well, they're still paying taxes on it. In fact, he just spoke this past week, because he had a question.
Well, their lot's not gonna be 300 feet away from mine.
No, it touches yours, but I don't know
Yeah.
where the well is with that. you know.
Where the well
If it's
has-
less than an acre, it's less than 300 feet.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it's, if, 200 by 200 is an acre. Same way with my other neighbor, I mean.
I think it's a caution, that what they're doing is, if they issue the recycler's license.
Right.
And you change your style of conducting your business.
see, that's-
Which is now allowed at that location.
Right.
Maybe that's the caution.
But he says you guys can put that in there, saying how many cars I can have there. Anything more than that, I get a summons or whatever
Okay.
from the town.
That's what the state is telling you?
Yeah, well, Sergeant,
Detective Markey.
yeah, Detective Markey. He's the one who oversees my business
In Perham,
and Carroll.
And Carroll.
This whole
North
area.
of like Millinocket.
everything north of Millinocket.
Yeah. Yeah, he said you can go ahead and put a limit of 2. I'm not gonna have any cars there like that anyways, but I'd repair them there, but not
By a limit of 2, you mean 2 that are torn apart?
all tore apart.
Not for
you
sale,
know,
yeah.
Stuff hanging out of it, stuff like that.
Two that you're not working on?
Right,
Two that are-
yeah. I wouldn't even have that there. I don't like them anyways. I don't.
Well, he also talked about making sure they're drained, so you wouldn't have anything, you wouldn't be
Right,
draining
yeah.
anything else.
I wouldn't be draining, I wouldn't be doing none of that there. I do that all at the other place.
Right.
I'm not equipped over there for that.
Right.
Maybe it could be conditional.
Well, that's what Detective Markey said. You can
Like-
put limits.
like you-
Yeah, the town can put limits in
Maybe to
there.
run it through legal at MMA.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever the plan, when
Yeah.
the planning board says, okay, this is what you need to satisfy for us, yes, we'll fit it to.
Since we don't have an ordinance dealing with
Recyclers.
recyclers,
Right.
we're kind of bound by the state's
Right.
Right.
guidelines.
Yeah.
But if you have something for me to take to MMA legal, I mean, I can email them and say, okay, this is our situation.
Yeah.
And, is this acceptable for conditions for recyclers license?
So you might have 3 or 4 cars that are under repair, I'll call them?
Right, right. 4 tops maybe.
And you said one time you did have a car that was not really under repair? It was-
Right, yeah, we had to take a lot of wiring out of the cab out of the truck, and I didn't want to run out there and come back, and then
So-
oh geez, now we need seat belt sensors, and then we have to go back out there, so I kept it there for
Sure.
a month or so, and then took it away. Everybody said, Jesus, did anybody survive in that? And it was rolled right upside down.
So was that vehicle drained?
Might as well say, there weren't no motor or transmission in it, so.
Oh,
it had
okay,
to be-
there was nothing to drain,
Just
yeah.
bad.
I'm just wondering, from your perspective, what's a reasonable limitation of vehicles on your property?
Really, I wouldn't put no more than 2. I wouldn't even put 1, really. I wouldn't recommend it in any of the towns. You don't want cars laying around with leaky oil pans and stuff like
No,
that.
but in your example, you had one.
Yeah, I had,
For a
one,
short
but there was
term.
no motor or
No motor.
transmission in it anyway, so.
So the ordinance,
I was looking for
our
cash.
stipulation could say one vehicle
Yeah.
that's drained
Yeah.
for the purpose of parts.
Cars, yeah, but it's,
I don't know if there's a need to put a limitation on vehicles under repair.
Well, I mean, he's got 4,
Well,
other days,
you're
he's
basing
got
4 on the
2.
4 days.
yeah, because what I do, if we have a lot of body work to do, sometimes I'm busy with that, and sometimes I get a guy that comes off the street, and he's a real good body man. He might show up for 2 days, we'll get that one done, then we'll push that out, and then we'll bring something else in, because I only got 2 bays to work out of. And I'm in an inspection station too, so I do inspection stuff, and, I do brakes, and whatever. Customers' cars, I try to take care of them, then I'll move another one in, and, just try to keep the ball rolling. And sometimes I have to wait for parts, door or fender or something I have to order in.
So is the state waiting for us to okay it before they'll give,
Yeah, they won't
Any
issue
license?
anything until
The city,
town signs
yeah.
out.
Yeah, okay.
The city.
Yeah.
And we would have to have a public hearing, and then what the planning board would do is make a recommendation to the city council.
Yeah.
And the city council would be the one that would actually approve it.
because we don't have it in our ordinance?
Yeah, and I think it's
Is
just
that why?
the municipal officers have to approve it or something.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So we put a stipulation in about four cars into repair and one car
It's not up to us.
temporarily as a source of parts. Is that
what you have on here, dismantled car? Yeah.
Yes.
You have like a box for like one, that's where you keep it,
Yeah,
and the other ones are in the bays?
so?
well, not really.
Okay.
I keep maybe 3 out on the right hand, or be the left-hand side if you're facing the building.
Oh, okay.
And I just put that there just, for repair.
Okay.
It's not dismantled vehicles.
Yeah. So the ones that you're showing outside is the
Yeah,
max that you're ever
yeah,
gonna
I keep them
have
over
there.
there because I can't have them in my
Right.
designated area for my other vehicles. They won't
Okay.
allow me to have it.
Gotcha.
Oh, and that, the one vehicle for parts, the
Yeah.
language should include that it's drained
Right,
afterwards.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about the well? So is that something the state's looking for us to examine or to make an exception based upon his actual practice of not being a recycler, he's more of a repair station?
And maybe that's something like Steve said to ask him in May.
Yeah.
If we're able to approve something that's less stringent than the state. The state is saying that for a recycler, it needs to be 300 feet. Are we able to, because we're making a condition that anything that's brought in has to be drained, having that stipulation that we can waive that requirement, to be 300 feet?
That would be a good question.
Yeah, there's got to be another classification, like, sounds like there's other businesses in town that do something very similar, and they're not
Yeah.
considered recyclers.
Well,
What are they classified?
they-
City water, city sewer, so it doesn't matter.
City water, city sewer?
Yeah, but
Because
you,
he's in
It's
the
private
R3.
wells.
Yeah, they have
Where-
private wells.
Does the city go up, Meadowbrook? City water go up Meadowbrook?
You're talking about where Jimmy Bacon
Yeah.
is, how far it goes out?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think it goes up that far.
I don't know.
That would be my,
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't it go?
It does?
Because the ice processing plant is under city water across the street.
Yeah.
Sir Brothers.
Sir Brothers, right. And that's actually kind of above.
Emerald Valley Ranches is on city water for their ice plant.
Yeah.
So,
city sewer too? Or just
Well, sewer
water?
wouldn't matter anyway. I just.
Yeah.
usually
No, but
have
they're on-
water
they're on
outside of
public-
my
they're on
mouth,
public
it says
water.
city sewer.
Gotcha. All right.
So what do you need from us tonight?
I think we need direction from MMA.
I mean, what you have started here is very reasonable.
how soon, if we get direction from MMA, how quick can we turn this over to get a public
Well,
hearing?
if you want to say, let's schedule a public hearing for the next meeting, we can do that.
Then let's do that.
Then
Yeah.
I can have everything from MMA, we'll have Detective Markey come in from Bureau of Motor Vehicles. And, we can talk about these specific requirements and specific conditions. And then from there, it can go to the city council.
Okay. I make a motion that we go with a public hearing next time.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the table from Eric and seconded by Dave for public hearing. Any discussion? Take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
JR?
Yep.
Dave?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Motion passes.
So we'll see you at the next meeting. we'll have
Keep
the
me
public hearing.
posted, huh?
Yeah. I'll have to find out what the date and everything.
Yeah, if you need any more information, just give me a holler.
Yep, will do.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, thanks for
Thank you,
coming.
Mr.
Thank you.
So next meeting, I will have a conflict of interest
Hmm.
to disclose. Because Detective Markey is my son-in-law.
I was wondering, this threw me off when you put that on the, I was like, conflicts of interest.
Well, we were talking about some bylaws for another committee, and I said, oh, we should start, we need to go back to doing the disclosure of conflict
Yeah,
of interest.
all right.
And it came up at the last council meeting too, that there was something and someone had a conflict of interest, and Danielle said, you need to declare them before. And I'm like, oh, I need to start putting that on
Yeah.
our agendas.
Yeah. I don't even know if that classifies as a recycler. Why can't he just classify as an auto body shop?
See, because he has to have.
It's because he has to spend 6 hours.
hours.
So it's because he can't work his schedule.
Right, that's what all of this is about.
So it's not that he's going to be doing any of the recycling here. It's just that he wants to
It's
spend.
the infinite wisdom of the state, is what you're saying?
Yes. Instead of being able to have something classified as a recycler,
Right.
Haram, and an
Yeah.
auto body in Caribou, served by that recycler, because there's
Yeah.
this minimum number of hours, you'd have to work at both.
Right.
This way, he doesn't have to do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Even though he'll be working out there,
Right.
but not 6 hours, 5 days a week, to get his carts and stuff ready to bring to Caribou.
Why should the state care how many hours he works?
I know,
What
it just seems
location?
ridiculous.
That's,
They should
yeah.
be
Real strange.
Why
Happy the
can't-
fellow's in business and making a living.
Why can't he, because it's not changing his business.
No,
It's not changing his business at all. This, and I wonder if he can get a waiver from the state.
well, apparently not, because that was when Detective Markey called me about this, like, out of the blue, and he's like, because he has to do all these inspections, and I don't understand all of the work that he does, but he called me because he says, I'm working on this issue, and he says, I think there might be a fix here, to, this issue, and I said, okay, well, have him come see me. So then that's when Kip Griffin came in to see me.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we'll get things going, I'll look up the minutes, and you've got minutes in your
Yeah.
packet too from previous. And I just wish you would measure where the wells are. Like, it would be good to just know where those are and how far they are, even
But-
if it's not from the line.
But who has the capacity to do that? Can a municipal official sign off on that, or is that gonna be done by a surveyor? I mean, that's the question I got.
Yeah, no, anyone, I think, could go out and just measure where the well is. It's
But
not
where do you
like-
measure it from, though?
It
Why?
has to be from the lot line, which is crazy, because you're not going to
Which
be doing...
part of the lot line?
Yeah, it should be from where vehicle
Right,
storage
where-
is.
That's right, that's right. And maybe that's, in the email to MMA, I
Yeah.
would say, like, here's what it looks like on the ground, like,
Can he buy that property? Is that even available?
But if he
Where
buys
it's-
it and puts it in his name, then he's, now that's the new boundary.
Didn't seem like he was that.
But is that the only property that's the problem?
we don't know.
Yeah.
But there seems to
There's
be,
that one above that they're saying,
yeah.
I don't know, it seems funny too, that the state is pushing us into issuing a recycler's license where he's not gonna be doing any recycling here. He's
Right.
just it's just an auto body shop.
They're just trying to make it so he can operate his business like
Yeah.
he's been doing it.
Yeah.
But comply with their hours.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that go on that I don't understand. This is one of them. But, when you do try to keep people in business,
Yeah.
it's not so. And we have never had any complaints about his business.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. And I mean, that's out in my neighborhood, so You've never been in?
Yeah. I've been by there. I've never seen more than 3 or 4 cars there. Yeah.
But then he's got those out there for sale.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Looking ahead to projects in the pipeline.
Okay, so, I'll take that one. This recycler permit, we talked about that tonight. We anticipate we'll be getting a permit for 209 Thompson Road, which is Spud Speedway, for some cabins, and the Caribou Police Station at Woodside. So those are all things that we're working on right now. We'll be coming to you. Let me move to the old business of Blight.
Yeah, we've got, the blight. I was gonna say, I was like,
Questions on these upcoming projects.
is the police station, that's going out for, bid soon? Do we have a date for that?
Nope, not yet. We don't even have a final design yet. But I think we have a final design on the lot, like we're carving out a piece of the lot so we can get
Oh,
a
that's
V-rack
right.
on it, so.
Yeah, okay.
So for Blight, one of the big topics of our meeting last month was Blight, and you had asked me to reach out to the listserv, and most of the folks on the listserv really directed me to the property maintenance code. I actually meant to bring down the book and I forgot. And use the tools that the property maintenance code provides for work on Blight. And of course, we have one adopted. We haven't had a new one adopted since 2017. And there are new versions available. And the planning board wanted to think about that. I also reached out to MMA Legal Services, and I have, I've just copied and pasted their email in here. So I did, they gave some links to vacant building licenses, also codes in different communities about vacant building registration and abandoned buildings. Some of them, I see they have this code 360, it must be some kind of new software. And I couldn't really print from there, but I did print for you. Searsport and
Brewer.
Oh, Brewer, yeah, exactly. So you've got a couple of different ordinances to look at here. This vacant building registration permit application, this is from Searsport.
It is?
Yep.
I like that.
So those are things to think about if we want to go down that road. We've tried to do this like as an internal process,
Yeah.
not really driven by an ordinance. Try to figure out what buildings are vacant and who to contact, but if you don't have it in an ordinance, there's no teeth, so people are just like, I'm not gonna do that. So,
Does the city have a good, is it pretty easy to tally them?
No, I mean, what we do is in the wintertime, you drive around and see
See
the
who's the
driveways
ones.
aren't plowed.
Yeah.
And then you think to yourself, okay, well, so-and-so owns that, and they go to Florida, like, maybe Karen doesn't have hers plowed out, because she's in Florida. But it's a small enough town, like, somebody kind of knows if somebody's, because then you might drive by it and a week later it's plowed, because their plowman isn't really prioritizing that driveway, but they know they can't just let it go all winter, because you might need fuel or something. So they're just sometimes later getting plowed. also, we talked some at the last meeting about the blight toolkit. We had a blight commission that worked on kind of wrangling all the blight tools that we do have, and that was presented to the city council in June of 2020. And that started with a blight survey of the town, and just to see if there was a concentration of blight in different places. And then Mr. Marker had everyone on the committee kind of take different sections, and we researched them to just write out like just little paragraphs. And I can see it printed all wonky because it's landscape, the orientation. But it had to do with just trying to figure out what tools that we had available. And, you know, property maintenance code was, you know, in here. And we broke them out by different, I think we called it boost. Like we had bylaws, ordinances, stakeholders, operations, tools, different tasks and stuff that we could do, like revising codes. Stakeholders was, you know, people that maybe could be, because different groups are tools too, you know, not the people in the group we're calling tools, but just the function of the group doing the work they do, like ACAP, which can, if someone is in a lower income, can put on a new roof or have certain efficiency upgrades. And sometimes, like the Fort Fairfield Housing Authority, they have a program that will just come and fix minor things, maybe some weather stripping or something, small things to help people too. And different, like the Small Communities Grant Program, that if you're low income, you can qualify for that if your septic system needs an upgrade. We're actually working on one of those right now. Your prayers are welcomed because it's quite a process. And like for bylaws, it's like kind of using our local ordinances and state statutes, some of which we've talked about tonight, to be able to use those as a tool also. And different operations, like if we have someone who is certified to go to court because they have 80K certification, and we do have 2 policemen that have that. Different times, like Tony and I have wanted to take it when I was still doing some code. They always offered it in June in like Augusta. Well, if your main job is being an assessor, you don't go anywhere in like April, May, and June. Like I've told my family, if you die, I'm not coming to your funeral because I cannot go anywhere. It is just not the time. And so we've always missed out on 80K training, but we do have policemen that can do that.
What is that?
80, like the number 80 dash and then the letter K. And it just has to do with like a statute.
Okay.
And it has to do with courts. And
Okay.
Steve is familiar with it. Did you do any of that when you worked in code downstate?
I did. I was 80K certified. When I moved to Caribou and became Caribou's code officer, I asked the city council, it was for their permission to go to the courthouse to register my 80K with the clerk. And after discussion of, well, gee, Steve, we don't want you taking anyone to court, but they finally said yes. So when I got to the court and spoke with the clerk had never heard of this before, that a code enforcement officer could, you know, issue subpoenas, summons, and represent the violations to the judge as an attorney typically would. And since the clerk had never heard of it, and the judge had never heard of it, and the judge didn't want people that weren't not attorneys presenting cases in his court, I dropped it. I guess I'm not going to do that here, so. But it's a qualification that municipal code officers can take a case to court and do all the preliminary and present, you know, evidence just like you see on television. But, yeah, it's another level of code enforcement certification. Other municipalities use it very successfully.
Yeah?
I remember talking with a code officer in Augusta at one time, and I think he had presented, I want to say 90-some odd 80K cases in court for various violations, and had been successful on all of the 90-some odd cases. But
It's impressive.
I have to imagine if
the whole
you
thing
were
is
like, here's your summons.
there are ordinances and state statutes.
Yeah.
If the municipality doesn't support code enforcement actually enforcing these things, it becomes really frustrating.
Yeah.
Because you're out there trying to get the people to bring the properties into compliance. After 2 or 3 visits and notice of violations, and you ask the city council, can I have your permission to take this individual to court now for these violations? And they say, oh, we don't want you taking people to court. So it's, it's frustrating. But anyway. But it takes another test, another level of study and preparation and all of that.
Penny, can I get a clarification on something? At our last meeting, I recall mentioning home rule. If home rule would carry more weight than state statute. And I am trying to think if the planning board put bigger teeth in our ordinance, which is accepted by the council, can we proceed to take a property by, I'll call it eminent domain, it's not the right word, but you know where I'm going with it. Let's say that his house burns, he decides to do nothing about it, it's sitting there for 90 days. Our ordinance says after 30 days, you gotta do something. If you don't, we will. Do we have a leg to stand on with that scenario?
That's the dangerous building.
Right, you could use dangerous buildings, I mean, it's kind of a long approach. I did ask, because part of your
Right.
question was, would MMA
Back
help?
us.
Yes, and they said, no, you have to have you have to have your own attorney. The MMA is not gonna represent you in your ordinances that you may pass, yeah. But with dangerous buildings, like we could go in there and storm the gates and say, this is unsafe, and we're taking over, and we're tearing it down, and we're sending you the bill.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I'm bothered by that Sweden Street.
Right, and that's what I'm picturing in my head when you're talking
Yeah.
about that. And our efforts have been very unsuccessful, and I hear that our efforts will probably never be successful unless it's a storming the gates situation.
And that's what I've heard also.
It's an action of the council.
Yeah.
So
So
if
the
the-
council could, like Steve was saying, they could,
So can we make
A request?
a request to the council to act on it?
Yes.
And
yeah,
let's do that.
Yeah.
It's a matter of the council deciding to say, yes, the owner has not done what they should have done within our allotted time. The council then hires contractors to go do the demolition and cleanup, and then they assess a special tax against the property.
I'd like to make that a motion.
It's prudent to run it through the court, the council, and then to have the city's attorney also have the court review it and approve it. Then you're in a much better position.
That's very well said, thank
The
you.
council could do it on their own without going to court.
but this last one, we've been doing it through the court, just to make sure.
And it's gotten us nowhere.
Well, the building isn't there.
But no thanks to the courts.
Okay, so the planning board would like to see a dangerous building action on Sweden Street. So your council liaison is here.
I don't think it requires a motion.
No?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and honestly,
Yeah.
I think the council would support that. I can't speak for them, obviously. but
Right.
I think they're very frustrated as well.
well. They're frustrated with court.
Yeah, when was that, January? Did that happen in January?
Sorry.
I mean, we're coming up on 9 months here.
I don't know if the council is aware that there's another option besides going through the court system.
Well, we need like a toolkit.
now. We
Yes.
need
We need a Gantt chart toolkit.
Because we're all frustrated as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So-
So are the neighbors.
I can imagine,
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe we'll
yeah.
put that on the next agenda. and
Yep.
Have a discussion about it.
I'll put a few little stars by it.
Thank you.
So with Blight, and so the other thing, I printed this out, and I thought, I think what I'm gonna do is have Judy work on this and see if we have some updates. Maybe we can update this, especially so that it's not landscape, because it's hard to, print it and read it. We're used to reading everything portrait, So that maybe we can get back to some of the suggestions that were in here that we could do too, like some tools that we don't have in our toolbox, but maybe we could add. So, anyway, just to try. And I'll put that on the agenda.
Lovely. That's the code, LD 1706. It's on that's the last thing on the agenda.
No, so we have comprehensive plan. We
Oh,
have-
I missed right over that.
Karen has an update on that. You want to talk about that? Yeah.
Local ordinance.
Hello, everybody, good evening.
Good evening.
So I'll give you an update where we are. The comprehensive plan, the 2024 comprehensive plan is due down in Augusta by next summer. Okay, and we're making good progress. All our work groups have met. Remember, we're all doing, and thank you all, because you've each, kind of spearheaded each of the work groups, and we've been churning right along, having one a month. They've all met except Public Facilities and Services, which is meeting at the end of September on the 28th. And Amanda and Frank are the lead people, and I'll be in touch with you. I'll send you some details and what kinds of questions we need to ask, and
September what?
28th. It's a Thursday.
I'm here that day.
Okay, good. Thursday evening at the Wellness Center. That'll be put out. We had, our last meeting was last Thursday on the economy with JR leading, and Dave, Frank was there, and Dave was there. It was really good. You all are so great because you come to a lot of these meetings, and I really appreciate that because it's really important. And we usually have a good crowd. We have a lot of great discussion, which we did. And if any of you follow the City of Caribou Facebook page, our media people, which are Bethany and Christina, have decided to take our questions from each work group and put them out to Facebook. So go to the City of Caribou page. We had some great discussion on the economy questions. And several people mentioned the riverfront, which was really great, and all right in line with the types of things that we talk about at riverfront meetings and things like that. So all positive, I think, except for one comment, which was really nice. So keep abreast on the City of Caribou Facebook page for those kinds of discussions and some of these meetings that we're having. Oh, by the way, our next riverfront meeting is on the 12th, is next Tuesday, which will be really good because we'll be talking about our new project that we got money for, which Penny's going to mention in a minute. But, so I just really wanted to appreciate you all. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do on October 26th, which will be the end of the next month, is have a community-wide visioning meeting to follow up with the one we had exactly a year ago, where we have 50 people come, and we're going to try to do a big media blitz again. We want to kind of revisit some of the progress and things that we've been doing over the year, some of the grants and the development that's happened, like what are some of the changes that have happened since everyone, hopefully a lot of the same people, have been in the room. In fact, I had done a newsletter last December, and I'm holding off. I'm doing another one, working on another one right now. because we're really, we're meeting with our media people actually tomorrow evening, and we really want to come up with a pretty cool campaign for all the stuff that's happening in Caribou, which is going to be, Penny's going to talk about in the next little section of our meeting tonight. But there are just so many things happening that we want to kind of tie it together in a Caribou 2.0 campaign or something, you know, because it's very exciting, and we want to try to transmit that, and that'll be the basis for our meeting in October. We want to revisit the city vision and mission from 10 years ago, okay, and see if people want to keep it the same, they want to do it a little differently, et cetera, et cetera. So I encourage you to look at that. Of course, I will be sending it out in advance. So, okay, and I would love to hear from you. So, what is it today, the 7th? So we'll have another planning board meeting before that big meeting. So maybe some input from y'all on what you'd like to see at that big community meeting, okay? And maybe we'll have a facilitator, probably Bethany. But maybe, remember last time, each of you took kind of a role with the different section. I don't think we'll be doing the same thing, but we may think of a job or things for you guys to do at that meeting, just so you kind of are the face of the planning board for the community. But if you have any ideas about that, let us know. So also in the background, I'm writing away. JCAM has a contract from NMDC, has a contract with the city to write. He's focusing on the natural resources sections, the water, the natural resources, agriculture, forestry. We kind of divided it up. Population and demographics and transportation, which a lot of it, NMDC has contracts to work on that stuff anyway. So, but we're both going to work together, where I'll review, and Penny too, and all of you are going to eventually review this, but as we're writing it, we'll work together. He'll look at my sections too, and we're working together. And so in the background, I've already started, because I have the skeleton from the state, I have the old plan, and from the input of these work groups, history and archaeology, economy, recreation, those have all been started, like the guts of those and the outlines of those sections for the new plan have been started, just to let you know what I do sometimes in the office. And then public facilities and services will be coming up, and I'll be doing some background work on that. And then the fiscal capacity and capital investment section, I really haven't done that much on, but I think Dave there was a work group on that, and I'll be revisiting that. And then the riverfront will be kind of a section of the plan, but that's going to be built into the economy. Since that was such a big issue in the economy, there'll be a section on riverfront in economy. There'll be a section on riverfront in the natural resources, in the recreation. And then we'll reference all those and tie them together in a riverfront section. So that's basically, there'll be two major sections that Jay and I will be working on with you in the spring. Well, now we'll be working on existing land use. I'm going to hopefully rely on them to do a lot of mapping now, because Ken used to do a lot of the mapping, so we're going to have to ask NMDC to do that. But when early spring comes around, we'll be looking at future land use and how we might want to change. Of course, you all have gone through the zoning and all that, so we'll be revisiting that section, those sections kind of last. But just to let you know, it's moving right along. We're on schedule. Things are going well. I'm really happy that you've taken such an active role, so thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I'll be back next month.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be really good.
Let me add my thanks to Karen and
Yeah.
all of you. I've gone to a lot of these meetings, and I just enjoy it so much, because there's a lively conversation, great ideas going out there, and I've not been involved in any other city governments, but I cannot imagine that we don't have the best team in the world here. The level of interest and the diligence and the commitment is amazing here. So thank you all.
I have people asking me all the time, they're like, oh, what's going on in the city? I'm like, wow. It's like, Riverfront, we've got this, we've got this. I was like, we've got a lot going on, so.
Yes.
I think people are noticing, so it is, yeah. And Penny, here's your segue to your, do you need a drum roll? Do you need a drum roll? She waited till the end, almost the end of
planning
the,
board has a hand in all of this.
All of this, that's right.
And we
yeah.
need, a lot of it is requiring public, participation.
Go with the, if you're gonna talk, go to the microphone. So, well, Karen is coming to the microphone. So I actually put at your seats an updated one of the grant things. So when I was making up this packet, yes, and it was
this one.
it was separate. Yeah, it was separate from your packet. It was just on the desk there. I almost put it on colored paper just so they didn't get mixed in. And it was really for this group that I said, I need to take all of our grant things that we're working on and boil it down into a page so that it's a little bit easier for everyone to say, and at the next meeting, we can give the updates. And something Karen and I, of course, I guess we went to Detroit since our last meeting. So when we went to Detroit, Karen and I went to different classes and stuff that were going on, which remind me to have you talk about that too, maybe in their staff update or whatever. Because Karen went to some amazing walking tours, what do they call, mobile workshops, that's what they call it.
Oh.
And Karen went to 2 that were unbelievable. And so, but in a lot of the different sessions, they talked about story mapping and trying to communicate to the public, like, where we were in the process of all of these different things. That's one of the reasons why when we're on our way back and Karen and I are like, okay, we need to have like timelines for these things, story maps.
Big poster boards in town at
Posters.
strategic places.
Yes.
So the community, so far we have one little measly sign that says, future home of the police station,
Right.
okay, which is great, because
Yeah.
people were asking. But she's gonna get into it, but when we start doing the riverfront and the village partnership, we would love to see some of these wooden storyboards with existing pictures of ideas for the future, and the people that are even involved, you guys, like, this is what we saw.
Yes, yeah,
In
no,
Detroit.
yeah. And also, it also keeps us accountable for, okay, well, we haven't made any progress to report back to the planning board. We better, can we check in with these people? And it's also, all of these different projects require public input. And that was something that was stressed so much when we were in Detroit, was, EPA and the MBRC, and, they didn't talk about that one, but they are so focused on using these funds for what the community wants. So we have to be able to show through our grant process that we are reaching people, even if that means we have to set up a food truck in a neighborhood.
Community engagement.
Yes, community engagement, and send out postcards and say, we're going to be here listening to people talk about what they want to see in this neighborhood on this day. We have to do that. We have to meet people where they are and find out what they want in their community. And it was made very clear through these that is part of the responsibility for this. That was very eye-opening.
Events, like,
Yes.
we got VIP tickets to a riverfront
Yes,
event because of one of these mobile workshops, and it was just wonderful. We took pictures. They had down on the riverfront to celebrate all the efforts. They had some Motown music.
Fantastic.
And what was the name of the?
Oh, okay.
Not the Temptations.
No, come back to that.
Okay, you'll remember. But anyway, so we got to actually partake in some of the celebration and so forth.
Commodores, that's what
The
it was.
Commodores, that's what we were searching for, yes, so, anyway.
So that was one, and because we have so many things going on, and one of the things Karen took some pictures of, which was nice, is in these different billboards, they even have quotes from community members, planning board members, council members, what their vision is, what prompted them to go out and seek these.
And what their
grants.
opinion is
Yeah.
on what's happening. Like,
Yeah.
these are, once-in-a-generation changes happening to our community, And so we want to try to impart to the community the enormity of what's happening in Caribou. And when Penny goes through the list, it's pretty amazing. I really feel like the Caribou, my grandchildren are not going to be afraid to go down to the riverfront like their parents are telling me right now, oh, we don't, we won't let the kids go down there, And there's really no reason why I feel it's perfectly safe, but there's just this cloud over the riverfront. But anyway, that's going to all change.
And one of the problems with the Riverfront Committee has been that the city hasn't had property down there that they can fix up and have as an anchor down there. And so that's going to change. And so, as Karen said, we're meeting with Bethany Zell and Christina King Gibson, who work on our media. We're meeting with them tomorrow night to just try to brainstorm, how we're going to achieve some of these goals that we're setting, and also trying to find some kind of a name that is that embodies what this big picture initiative is, where all these things are kind of looping
So if you
in.
think of anything like,
Yeah,
Cornerstone, Caribou Revisited,
The
Cornerstone.
Cornerstone, yeah, Cornerstone project, for sure. So if you look at the newest one in here, it starts with brownfields on the top. And so right now we have, for fiscal year 2023, we have the $900,000 grant from EPA for the diesel plant and other outbuildings. And we have selected our QEP, which is County Environmental Engineering. The next meeting is in Massachusetts on September 27th, and we are anticipating getting our funding around the 1st of October for this. We're also kind of in conjunction with this, at the same place as our riverfront power plans, is this emergency action. It's called a CERCLA action. We still haven't received that action plan yet. So that's why Karen and I had to make the very tough decision that we are not going to be able to apply for another brownfields grant for the steam plant until 2024, which would be for fiscal year 2025, because we don't know what they're going to be taking out of the steam plant. Now, our person from, was it Jim Byrne that told us that it's all going to be out? Someone told us there's not going to be any asbestos left in there when they're done, which I can't imagine, because we have 2 miles of asbestos.
But that's why it's an emergency.
But that's why it's emergency action.
Which means
So-
they pay for everything.
Yes, so we're working all of that so that our taxpayers aren't paying for that. Since our last meeting, we did learn that Caribou has received a Northern Border Regional Commission grant in the amount of $472,550. And this is for our riverfront master plan and projects down there, and that's what's going to create this anchor. We're going to be able to have a master plan for what's the community wants down there, what available uses would be of the riverfront, and also to purchase 2 properties currently for sale that are actually right next to each other at the end of Water Street, which is going to connect. It's down near the trails. It's also going to help with, like on the back, when we talk about the Village Partnership Initiative, people from in town will have this great pathway to the river now. And we're going to be taking buildings that are blighted and using this grant funding to tear one down and to fix one up. And it's really exciting. And we have submitted, actually, Karen and I were eating lunch after we met Senator Collins and Governor Mills. We went to a press conference, and then afterwards we were eating lunch, and I said, well, because I was driving, I said, well, I'm not ignoring you, Karen, I'm just gonna check my email and see if there's anything going on. And I already had the MDRC paperwork, and it was due on the 8th, but we got right after it and got it done and submitted, so. I think that, but our next thing is on the environmental part. So, we did meet with Michelle Hersey yesterday afternoon for about an hour and a half. It's 4 pages, just the intake form. So we've kind of, each of us are taking different things that we're going to work on and compile. We're actually going to be on the site tomorrow at 10 o'clock to be able to look at, just different things, take a lot of pictures, because they want a lot of pictures with this, meet the intake form, so. And if you have any, suggestions by any of that areas that they might like to see, or anything, I guess just let me know. But it looks like they redid the form just last month, last month, so I don't know, it's,
More, they want more detail.
a lot more details.
So we had to submit, so NEPA is the National Environmental Policy Act, and
NEPA is the National Environmental Policy Act, so now they're really coming down with any federal money, you have to go through an environmental review. And so there are 3 parts to this riverfront. There's a plan, we'll get kind of a write-off. They say no real environmental review, no dirt's being moved or anything. But we feel that they want an environmental review if you're going to have renovations. We're probably going to do some renovations at the train station, and then demolition on the starch factory. So we'll have to describe what we're doing, and then they decide how much environmental review we need. For example, the plan, we won't need an environmental review for that part, but it shouldn't be too rough. Our environmental person, Michelle, is, but we're going to go look at some of the details tomorrow to be able to give them the picture. And then with that, the Northern Border Regional Commission decides what we have to do. We built in funds for that in the grant, okay? If we need to access them earlier, they have ways for us to do that, because we're not allowed to draw down any funds until that review comes back. So, anyway, probably TMI, but that's where we are right now.
That's where we are.
That's our day-to-day stuff that we do, yes.
We've got their other paperwork done, so we're working on environmental. For our congressionally directed spending requests from 2022, we had the police station, and we had the Mill Pond Reconstruction Dam and Fishway. We don't seem to have any word on when we'll be able to access any of that funding. It's taking much longer than we thought.
Both of those are going through the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Federal money, there will be NEPA reviews on those. But we've submitted the required paperwork, and they're really not getting back to us. We're trying to make that happen.
And then for this year, we submitted a congressionally directed spending request for improvements to the fire station and the Lions building in the amount of $1.359 million to match other funds that we have for the project. That's cleared appropriations, waiting for full budget approval. And Jake Mann from the Northern Maine Development Commission, who is a great friend to Caribou, always is promoting, what he can do for us. He's just such a treasure for everything that he does in the community. So he reached out to me and said the governor's office policy, whatever GOPIF, F is future, innovation is the I, P I think is policy. So the governor's office of policy, innovation in the future. They were submitting a request through Senator King's office for energy efficiency upgrades in public buildings, but it couldn't be the City Hall, but Jay said, how about the library? Because the library has a lot of inefficiencies there with the big windows, and it needs some insulation, needs some updates. I know Dan went on our tour of the library.
Seems so long ago.
It seems so long ago. But it was one of the things that the Municipal Buildings Committee had identified as, one of our buildings that really could use energy efficiency. So Jay said, hey, the GOPIF is putting in a request through Senator King's office. They'd like to do a project in Caribou. And we're like, we are happy to take their money. So who do I make their letter out to? And that has also passed the Appropriations Committee. So that would be huge, because they didn't even put a limit on the amount of money. So it will basically be having someone go in and do some,
An audit.
An audit, yeah, that's the right word, to figure out what we need to do over there. So that's going to be a great project. With our ARPA funds that we have, which we do need to have all of those at least committed by the end of next year. We've been using them for matches for county ARPA projects, and the broadband study was out of those funds. And with the Aroostook County matching funds, the limit that they have is $150,000. So from last year, we were able to get $150,000 towards some equipment at the fire station and also some improvements to the fire station. For this year, I don't have the signed paperwork back, but this year's project is new turnout gear at the fire department, and for the police department, body-worn cameras and radios. Then on the second page, our Visit Caribou grant, we actually closed out. And so, as with most grants, everything is reimbursable. Like, we have to pay for things, then we can go in and draw down the money to pay ourselves back. But we have to, everything is by everyone else's rules. And so our Visit Caribou grant, which we feel was very successful, Bethany and Christina did the heavy lifting on all of that. And we increased visitors to our social media. We had a lot of great advertising, the state highway map, Snowmobiler magazine.
We have a new QR code.
Yes, a guidebook for NMDC, the county, the Bangor Daily fall insert. And during this, they had reached out to Christina about coming to Caribou to do, Yankee Magazine reached out to do a snowmobile segment, and I hope all of you have had a chance to watch that. We had it linked on our social media, and I know I had sent it out in different things. And we paid nothing for that, but we got their attention by beefing up our social media, having Bethany and Christina really work with our Visit Caribou page, and they came up, and what they produced was amazing. Like, literally, I send it to anybody who even says anything about Caribou. I'm like, have you seen this wonderful video? That cost us nothing, but we've got great return on that. We have a banner. I was interviewed by the Weather Channel. I stuck the banner up behind me, and after the person from the main office of tourism is emailing me, and I'm on camera, but I see her email pop up in the corner. It's like, I'm watching you on the Weather Channel, and I see that banner that we paid for, and it looks great. So it was great that they noticed that. So that was an enterprise grant, and we think it really helped. We had our restaurants last winter said they were busier than ever, despite having more restaurants in town this past winter than previous ones. Everyone was busy, and anyway, so we think our Visit Caribou site. Oh yeah, we have a rack out front where we have different brochures. We even paid for some. We had a little contest. People could have us pay to design a rack card for them. And anyway, so all of that went very well. Our facade improvement grant, which also helps us fight blight, is one of the tools in our toolbox. Try to clean up some of these storefronts, old signs, put new siding. That's a great program. That is, the application period is open now, and the deadline is September 30th. Now, it's not a grant program to us, but I wanted to put in here about broadband, because that was something that has been discussed at, I think, every level. And Charter and Spectrum do have a grant through the Maine Connectivity Authority for last mile access in Caribou. I email down like every 2 weeks. What's the update? What's the update? When are you gonna start? Because I have people that call me and say, well, when are you gonna start? When are you gonna have, fiber to my house? And I talk to them, time goes fast, it may have been two weeks ago by now. They have finalized the grant contract, and it is now in the hands of Charter to get back to them by September 29th. And because MCA has been through different grant programs, they've learned to incorporate timelines, lists of locations, so that in the contract, it's enforceable. So we can truly make sure that we're getting last mile access. Now, in the future, we're hoping to get a Department of Transportation RAISE grant, which stands for Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. So the first step of that is with the Department of Transportation Village Partnership Initiative. So in 2023, the Caribou City Council appropriated $50,000 to pay for half of the DOT VPI transportation plan. And because of the size of our community, we have to pay half. Like if we were in a smaller community, we might only have to pay 25%. But we're paying half, and it is now out for bid. So we're so excited about that too.
So there's a map that the gentleman, the engineer from the Department of Transportation drove around with Penny, and so and JCAM, and so we're going to connect, it's for a plan to do a once-in-a-generation rebuild of the infrastructure in Caribou. We're talking sidewalks, traffic patterns, lights, crossings, bike lanes, to make it more bikeable, walkable, connecting. And so as they went through town, this whole plan, and this is going to fit so well with the riverfront, will connect the high school, the trailhead on Washburn Street, the Mill Pond, Water Street, the riverfront, the community school, all of this, the downtown, will all be looked at with community input on how to make it safer, easier, efficient, energy efficient, more walkable and bikeable. And so the bid is out right now.
So who's managing the acquisition of that study? Is that DOT, or are we doing it locally?
Penny,
Well, so the RFP is out now.
She had to put the RFP.
Right, for plans, but we received that document from DOT.
they wrote
Yeah.
the,
They would say, here, put this out.
Yeah, but I mean, we had to go back a few times because just making sure we had all of the streets that we had talked about, the streets that were on the map were actually incorporated into the plan.
it'll be a big partnership
It'll-
between
yeah.
the manager and the DOT contact.
And MDC, because Jay is working on it. It's gonna be-
And the planning board, and-
Yeah, it'll be coming to the planning.
Yeah, it'll be coming.
It's a study piece of the overall effort, which is going to be the transformation of our city, right?
Yes, yeah.
Could be.
So these are also, Fort Kent has one. We're a little bit behind because, I don't know, we're behind, but we're catching up and.
Due to management transition.
Yes, so like Fort Kent, Van Buren, Presque Isle. Presque Isles has been kind of on the news some with their VPI. But Jared's idea, he's the engineer from DOT, is because these RAISE grants have to be like at least like 200 million or something, he's gonna take Fort Kent.
All of them together.
Yes, all of them together for the, yeah. That's what amazing, right?
Generation. So
That would be
we'll submit
nice.
a huge raise grant to the feds for like Aroostook County.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got an email today that they're doing a study this fall in Aroostook County for transportation. And one of the listening sessions is going to be in Caribou. I think it's November 14th. And they have to have their, by the end of the year, this group has to have their work product done for, I don't know, DOT, legislature, whatever it is. So I just got that today. I haven't really digested it. And I also had talked to, this is why I said grants and good stuff, because this isn't a grant, it's just good stuff. I talked to Maine DOT Region 5 about, this is like a pet peeve of mine, are these old fences from the original bypass that look terrible. So I've talked to them about getting those fixed. So they were going to have their person who assesses damage come take a look at them, and so I'm hoping that we're going to get those fixed. But I mean, they said, yeah, those are our fences, yeah, they look terrible, yeah, we're going to fix them. And I said, if it's determined that some of them is because we're damaging them with snowplows or something, we can participate in that too, but we can't fix them without their permission or their fences. But they don't look good. And one of the things when I drove around with Jared and Jay and with this DPI is gateways and making it very welcoming, and how just subtle changes in that can help with traffic calming.
Signage.
Yeah, signage was a big thing
There's
too.
no signs,
Yeah.
no wayfinding. It's so
Oh,
hard to get
wayfinding,
around.
yeah.
So hard to get around here.
So I think we have a lot of really, really good stuff going on right now. That's our grant update. So this is going to be in your packet for as long as you are stuck with me with, for your staff person.
I
think it's great.
To sustain the Visit Caribou initiative with the grant money expended, are we going to continue to maintain the website and how are we going to pay for
So
that?
this year, the city council approved spending money in the economic development, like Department 11, for website updates, social media updates, like, I'm not on Facebook, so I'm not doing any updates or anything. So Bethany and Christina do all of the ongoing updates. Judy does things that will come up that we need to get something out fast, but they're doing all the things that look really professional and
with all the community engagement requirements of these other projects that are paying for community engagement, that's going to spill over.
Yes.
We're going to use them, so that will also help us with continuity.
yeah. Yeah. And will also help pay for the work that they're doing. Do you want me to talk about the next one? So you have a flyer in here about the LD 2003, formerly known as LD 1706. They will, so DETD, I've mentioned at our previous meeting, this is something it's not a project that has to come to the planning board, but it's an ordinance that will have to come to the planning board. Is this housing opportunity program, and we're going to have to make changes to our ordinance to allow for additional housing to be put on lots. DETD is supposed to be helping us with that. And as part of that, they're having this listening session on Wednesday, September 20th at the library. And it's going to be 10 to noon. I would encourage everyone to come. I have it in my calendar. And as long as I'm not having jury duty that day, I will be coming.
It's
September 20th.
September 20th
September 20th. 10 to 20th.
at library.
At the library.
Oh, right there. Right in that flyer that Penny
I'll probably send out another
Posted.
poster too. Just-
posted it.
Just so that everyone, remembers. And then for staff report, I just have very few things, which is you've got the monthly permit report in your packet. Tony Michaud is our staff person who does our permits. He's done that since like 2015. He does a great job. And I had at your seats, I received a newsletter from Loring that has all of their updates. Full disclosure, I haven't read it, but Karen has, and she came running into my office on several occasions while she was reading it. about things that are going on. I haven't read it yet. It's like-
She'll get any work done when I read.
Yeah, can you read this? And I said, no, Karen, I haven't read
I've
it.
seen you two together, I don't know.
That's why she has to work till 10 o'clock at night to do the real work.
No, we just get excited because we have so much passion and energy for this community and getting these things done, you know, we just really want to get things done. And also, back when Mr. Murchison was the code officer, I think he had brought up, over on the West Presque Road, there was a structure that was permitted as a storage barn, and they wanted to have it as an event center, but they never brought back their full packet. So when he left, I tried a couple of times to email, and believe it or not, on Tuesday I got an email about it. And so they have decided to kind of discontinue doing that. But after they have 3 more weddings, and because we've never permitted, like we get off-premises catering, and we don't approve them because the use of the building was as a storage barn. It's never been approved for an event center.
There's a lot of work that went into that.
There is a lot of work in there, no doubt.
Weren't
I know,
there
but-
quite a few events there this?
There should have been, like, we didn't sign off, we haven't signed off on the use, we haven't signed off on any
But
catering.
in the email, they're
permits.
listing that they have 3 more weddings?
Yes, and I said, I don't know what you're trying to ask here for, you are not an event center, you know? The septic isn't big enough for an event center. And I
Building's
talked
not
to-
designed for an event center. It's a life safety
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
It is a life safety issue.
And so that happened on Tuesday, and that was surprising. I talked to our plumbing inspector today, so he's like, I'm confused. I said, I'm confused every day, Brandon, but, you know, at least she's reaching out, because before I couldn't, when I had taken over and I had kind of this stack of folders of unfinished business, I was trying to get something so I could bring it here. So I don't really have anything to bring here about it, just that I got an email this week about it. The biggest thing is we haven't found a code officer. That was something that came up at our meeting last Thursday with the economy section is, you know, how important planning board and the code officer is to bringing business to Caribou, having things properly permitted, having uses that are in buildings that were designed for the use. And so we're going to go back. I took the feedback from our meeting. Maybe I'm being a little bit too strict with some of our requirements. Maybe we're not finding the right people because we're not asking the right questions.
Haven't been there. The gentleman that spoke on it was very knowledgeable and had some great
Yes.
advice.
Yes, exactly. So I've taken all that to heart. We're going to be doing some more advertising. I had Judy put it, because it expires after a while after, on Opportunities Roostick and MMA, and so we're just going to tweak things a little bit. And that was a great meeting last Thursday.
Yes.
It really, I came away with a lot of notes. Karen came away with a lot of notes. We put those notes together. Karen has a document, because of course she's working on the comprehensive plan, which is what it was for. But we found that it touched so many other things that we're working on too, with the comments from the meeting. That was my staff report.
Thank
Unless
you.
anyone has any questions.
I don't have a question, but I would like to have on our next meeting, going back to last Thursday, we were talking about maybe exchanging ideas on how we can provide incentives to boost our housing stock in Caribou. I'd like to have that as an agenda item maybe, so we can devote some time to that.
We made some pretty good notes on that too, right? Like, didn't we?
We have lots of notes. I had
Yeah.
notes, Karen had notes.
We have
put it-
eight housing.
Yeah, she's put
Yeah.
everything together already.
Yeah.
for that,
Would be good for everyone else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Karen can send them out.
Yeah.
Next meeting. Let me get my, I know this summer's been odd,
In more ways.
and with Penny running multiple things.
We're looking at October,
Yeah.
on the 12th?
Well, typically it would be the 12th, right?
The 12th.
That would be the typical,
And that's fine, I don't have
Okay.
any, I don't have anything going on.
that's fine with me too.
Oh, I had it already on my calendar.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Does that work for everybody, 10/12?
Yep.
As I alluded to, I got called for jury duty, so I don't know what's gonna happen about that.
For the second time.
For the second time. I did get it postponed for August and September because of these brownfields.
You were just hoping they would forget about you.
That was absolutely my plan.
Yeah.
It did not work.
But
But we
maybe-
still will have jury duty at night.
Maybe you can have an irregular heartbeat and get a medical disqualification. Works for me.
I'm glad that something works for you. My help really out of it now because of his age, so he's excited about that, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll show up, maybe they won't want me anyway. Fingers crossed for that.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn by Dave,
Second?
seconded by Frank. Take a roll call vote. Frank? Frank?
Yes.
Steve? Justin?
Yes.
JR?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike's off.
Go home, Penny.
Okay,
Yeah, fat
everyone needs
chance.
to take their microphones, their microphones.
Turn your microphone
I'm running out.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll see you
Thank you,
tomorrow.
Karen. Okay, I'll see you. Yeah, thank you all.